Hi friends, welcome back to Parnika tutorials. In this video, I will discuss about component state in React. So I sincerely request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. You already know that every React component returns JSX, which is JavaScript XML. This JavaScript XML code describes the user interface. In React, generally we have 5 components. These components returns the JSX, which describes the user interface. In the previous video, we already saw that it is possible to influence what is rendered on the screen using props or properties. Already we have discussed about the props or properties. These props or properties are useful to influence what is to be rendered on the screen. There is another way also to influence what is to be rendered on the screen, that is the state of the component. So using the component state also we can influence what is to be rendered on the screen. Already we have discussed about the props. Using props also we can influence what to be rendered on the screen. Similarly, using the component state also we can influence what is to be rendered on the screen. First, let me discuss in detail about the state, and then I will discuss with an example. Then I will discuss what is the difference between the props and the state. The state is an instance of React component class that can be defined as an object of a set of observable properties that control the behavior of the component. So I can say that the state is an instance of React component class. So I can say that the state is an object, because for a class, object is an instance. So the state is an instance for React component class that can be defined as an object of set of observable properties that control the behavior of the component. In other words, I can say that the state of a component is an object that holds some information. So state will have some information, but that information can be changed over the lifetime of the component. So a state will have some information, that information you can change. So I can say that state is mutable. When it comes to the props are immutable. In the last video already we have discussed about the props. We have clearly understood that props are immutable, whereas state is mutable. So you can change the content which is there in the state. Now let me discuss an example on how state can be used in the class component. So let me go to the Visual Studio. In the Visual Studio components, I will create the new file and I will keep the name as stateex.js. So I'm creating one JavaScript file. In the stateex.js file, I will create a class component. So I will write import react component from React, and then I will write class state ex extends component, and then I will use the render method. Inside the render method, I will return the JSX code. So I will return one h1 tag. So I will write return h1 and I will write welcome to Parnika tutorials. At the end, I will write export default state ex, and then I will go to the app.js file. Let me close this hello.js file and may go to the app.js file. Let me remove this all the code, and then let me import stateex from components stateex, and then let me use the self-closing tag of stateex. Let me save the stateex.js app.js, and then let me go to the terminal, new terminal, and then I will write cd example1, and then I will write npm start. Now you can observe we got the output as welcome to Parnika tutorials. Here is our new requirement. I want to have a subscribe button below the welcome to Parnika tutorials. And when the user clicks on the button, welcome to Parnika tutorial should be changed to thank you for subscribing Parnika tutorials. Right now we are displaying welcome to Parnika tutorials. Whenever the user clicks on the subscribe button, the content should be changed to thank you for subscribing Parnika tutorials. If the message is sent from app.js as a property, it will not work because props are immutable. In the last video, we have already discussed how to send the data from app.js. If the message is sent from app.js as a property, it will not work because props are immutable. In the last video already we have discussed how to send the message from app.js to the functional component or class component, but that props are immutable. We cannot change the message because if I'm sending the message as welcome to Parnika tutorials, later I want to change it to thank you for subscribing Parnika tutorials. That change we cannot do using the props. However, using the state we can do it. To achieve our requirement, like I want to have a subscribe button. Whenever the user clicks on the subscribe button, I should get the content as thank you for subscribing the Parnika tutorials. To achieve my requirement, I need to follow 3 steps. First, let me discuss each step in detail. The first step is to create a state object in stateex.js and initialize it. So in stateex.js, I need to create a state object. It can be done using the class constructor. So I need to have a constructor. Within the constructor, we need to call the super method. This is required because we extend React's component class and call has to made to the base class constructor. So within the constructor, we need to call the super method. Why we need to call the super method? Because we extends the React component class and a call has to made to the base class constructor. Then we need to create a state object. As we are inside the class, we need to use the this keyword. State is a reserved keyword in the React. So what I need to do, I need to use the this keyword and then I need to use the state, which is also a reserved one in React. And then I need to open the curly braces and then I need to use the message, which is a property. For this property, I will assign a value. Welcome to Parnika tutorials YouTube channel. YouTube channel I will write shortcut as YC. And then I will go to the render method. In the render method, in place of displaying welcome to Parnika tutorials, I will use this dot state dot message. So I will, within the curly braces, I will write this dot state dot message. Already we have discussed that this is a reserved keyword and state is a reserved keyword, and then we are using the property called message. Let me save this one and let me go to the browser and let me refresh it. Even without refreshing, we got the output as welcome to Parnika tutorials YC, which is YouTube channel. This is the information I want to display. Now I want to have a subscribe button. Once the user clicks on the subscribe button, I should get the output as thank you for subscribing Parnika tutorials. To do that one, first I need to have a button. Let me go to the stateex.js and then inside the return, we need to use the div tag because React can only return one element, because here I will have the button and also h1. Both I cannot return using the React. So to do that one, I can use the div tag. Inside the div tag, I will have the h1 element and also the button element. So the return can return only the div tag because React can return only one element. So I will write return open div tag and then I will have the close div tag. Inside this one, let me copy this entire code and paste it here, and then I will have one button, and the button name I will provide it as subscribe, and let me save this one. And you can see we got the button as subscribe. Once the user clicks on the subscribe button, I should get the output as thank you for subscribing Parnika tutorials. So what I am doing here, I am clicking the button. So I am performing on click event. When I have discussed about the JavaScript, I have discussed about the on click event. Similarly, in React also we'll have various events. In detail about the events we'll discuss in the coming videos. Now we will discuss about the on click event. So in button we need to have on click event. For this on click event, I need to provide one arrow function, which is this dot change message. So which is an arrow function. Once the user clicks on the subscribe button, then you are calling a function called change message. Now you need to define the change message method. So where you have to define? You have to define after the constructor and before the render method. So I need to define change message method. So I need to use this keyword, and then I need to use set state method. This method accepts object which is a new state of the component. So I need to provide an object which is a new state of the component. So I need to provide message is my property, and for this message I need to provide a new value. What I want to display, thank you for subscribing Parnika tutorials. Okay, so this is the new value I am providing to the message property. If you want to provide a new value for the message property, then you need to use the set state method. This method accepts the object which is a new state of the component. Now let me save this one, and let me save the app.js. Let me go to the browser and let me refresh it. We got welcome to Parnika tutorials YC, which is a YouTube channel, and we got the subscribe button. Now if I click on subscribe button, you can see we got the output as thank you for subscribing Parnika tutorials. So this example demonstrates what exactly a state in React. A state is an object that is privately maintained inside the component. So inside the class component, we are privately maintaining it. A state can influence what is to be rendered on the browser. Earlier we are displaying welcome to Parnika tutorials YouTube channel, and once we have clicked on the subscribe button, we are displaying the output as thank you for subscribing Parnika tutorials. So in the last video, we have discussed how to influence what is to be rendered using the props. In this video, we have discussed how to influence what to be rendered on the browser using the state. Now let me discuss the difference between the props and state so that you will understand when you are supposed to use props and in which scenario you are supposed to use the state. Already we have discussed that props are immutable, meaning is that whatever the value you have assigned to the prop, you cannot change it, while state is an observable object that is used to hold data that may change over time. So whatever the content which is there in the state, that information you can change over time. So props are immutable, whereas state is mutable. States can be used in class components. In this example, we have created state.ex.js. In the state.ex.js, I have created a state.ex class component. Inside the class component, we have used the state. In functional components, with the use of React's hooks concept and using the useState and other methods, we can use the states. But however, props does not have this limitation. In the last video, we have discussed how to use the props in function component and also in the class component, but state we can use in the class component. If you want to use it in the function component, then you need to use React hooks, and with the help of useState and other methods we can use the state in function component. Props are set by the parent component. In the last video in the app.js we have created an attribute and we have assigned the value. That property we have passed to the function component or to the class component. So I can say that props are set by the parent component. Here parent component is app.js, whereas the state is generally updated by the event handler. So here we have created a subscribe button. Once the user clicks on the subscribe button, means whenever the on click event happened, then only we have used the set state method and we have changed the value to the message property. So the state is generally updated by the event handler. Properties are set by the parent component. So with this one, I hope you have understood the difference between the prop and states, and also you have understood what is a state and how can you use a state in class component. If you still have any doubts related to this concept, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubts as early as possible. Thank you for watching the complete video. Have a nice day.